What's up, weirdos? I feel like I've never referred to you guys as that before, but it's kind of just a rite of passage with this podcast name. So I kind of threw myself the alley oop with that one and didn't even take it. Anyways, I'm coming at you from a weird place, as always. Lately, it's just been increasingly obvious to me how much social media not only impacts our culture, but actually directly curates it. And I know that this is a talk that we might be tired of having, okay? We might be tired of this talk, but I also think there's something to say about the fact that we are tired of it. The fact that we are exhausted from the topic of social media being this kind of catalyst for chaos, you know? And I really do think that the more that we use it, different things come up, different trends happen, and things like that show up that spark new ideas and new weird feelings about it, at least on my end. And I just want to talk about it today because I really think that it directly highlights the issues that we're seeing with the creative process and the lack of creativity that we are seeing in the world. So I want to start off by kind of talking about the idea of permanence, because I think that this topic is one that we kind of brush over a lot. And it's something that I think we're all secretly feeling. I know this might not be generalizable to everyone because even if there are kind of unspoken quote unquote rules behind the apps that we're using, not everyone is abiding by them, but it's like usually the people who aren't abiding by them are the people who just aren't necessarily aware of them. And that's usually just like your 50-year-old neighbor that's just posting a low quality picture of her dog. Anyways, what I've been thinking about lately when it comes to permanence and how it's been showing up in my creative process and how it relates to social media is the fact that we are all so afraid of things lasting forever. I think we're all very aware of the idea of digital footprints. And since digital footprints are a thing, I think it makes us hyper aware of the fact that at any point in time, someone can perceive us as an old version of ourselves that we no longer resonate with, that we no longer align with. And that can make it really scary to post on social media because as much as you can tell yourself it's just a stamp in time, this is just where you're at the moment, and you can make that for you. You can post and make it for you more than other people in a way. But the truth of the matter is that everyone is perceiving you based on where they are, not where you are. No matter how curated you make it in a way where you want people to perceive it a certain way, it doesn't matter how curated you make it. When it comes to the eyes of the beholder, someone else can take it a completely different direction than your motive behind posting it. So that's why lately I'm just feeling completely turned off by anything that feels curated and anything that doesn't feel honest. Like, I genuinely cannot press post unless it feels so honest and almost vulnerable. Like, if I'm posting something on Instagram and it doesn't scare me a little bit, or it doesn't feel like natural and organic, then I genuinely can't get myself to post it. And sometimes that's in subtle ways because Instagram in particular is one of those apps where it is kind of created to be a curated platform, especially the way that it's used now. We're adding music to posts to fit the vibe of the post or whatever. Like, you can add music for any reason. That's the thing. It's like, you can add music on a post because that's the song that you've been listening to the most recently. And the song might not really fit the vibe of the post. But I feel like that speaks enough to the fact that we are trying to show up so polished on these apps, when in reality, if the person perceiving these posts is going to perceive it from where they are anyways, not where you are, then it only has to make sense to you. It doesn't have to make sense to another person, because you might sit there and choose a song that you think fits the vibe of the post, and someone else might completely disagree with that. Someone else might use a completely different song, but it's your story. It's not theirs. The internet is subject to change, and you also have the power to uproot your social media presence at any point. Like, you can archive all your posts if you want. You can delete your posts if you want. You can go ghost completely. You can delete the apps. You can delete your account. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, like I was saying about digital footprints, we know that in some world somewhere, those posts still kind of exist. And even if it's just in the old versions of ourselves, if that makes sense. Like, even if we deleted a post, we know that someone saw it and perceived it at some point. Like, it doesn't have to live on. The second that you delete it could be the second that you choose to let go, you know? And I honestly think that's a metaphor for everything in life. Like, letting go is as simple as deciding to no longer give it your energy. It's deciding to just not engage with it anymore. And that doesn't mean that things don't affect us still when we choose to disengage from them, because certain things like the economic state of the world, the political state of the world, every single little minute thing that trickles into other things, at the end of the day, they do affect us and they affect other people, which also affects us if we have empathy, you know? And even if we're not engaging with them, even if we're not putting ourselves in a place of actively looking for these things and they're not actually in front of our faces, like if you're someone who tries not to engage with the news in the world right now, it's still going to affect you no matter what level of informity you kind of fall under. It's still going to affect you because it's affecting the world and the collective energy of things. You know what I mean? Like, if you are able to resonate with that, if you're able to believe that about the world, then it's only true to say the same thing about social media. But it's interesting though, because I feel more so like the times that I've deleted socials off of my phone completely, it's so much easier for me to detach completely. It's so much easier for me to just genuinely not really think about what's going on the apps. And I think it's because you already kind of know what to expect. I think we're in a world right now where everyone is so afraid of taking themselves seriously that the things that people are posting are just what everyone else is posting, because that's what feels safe. That's what feels like it's going to be accepted in the most safe and comfortable way. So when you get off the apps even for a week, and this could just be my take on it, but I almost feel like I'm not really missing out on much, you know? It's not the same vibe of like, oh, if I were to just put my phone down completely and like shut out the world completely, shut out my friends, shut out everything that has to do with technology. Like, that's a little bit different to me, because then I'd be thinking about like, oh, like maybe someone's trying to reach me right now and I'm not seeing that. Maybe, you know, work wise, friend wise, like anyone could reach out to you or text you. It doesn't just have to be people that you constantly keep up with, you know? But it's different with social media because that still stands true, right? Like, at any moment, someone can DM you that you don't normally talk to. At any moment, someone could like a post or whatever. But like, I think I'm just at a point now where I just don't feel like I'm missing out on anything when I go off the apps, because like I said, everything is so curated. So the only things that I'm missing are like the curated photo dumps that people are posting, the vacation posts, the here's my outfit, here's me with my friends, here's, you know, and there's nothing inherently wrong about that. Like, I think that people should feel the freedom to be able to post whatever they want to post. That's not what I'm saying here, but it goes to show that we are not asking ourselves enough if something is actually honest before we're pressing post. And I think the world would be a completely different place if, not only just on social media, but just in general, if we asked ourselves more, does this feel honest, before we do something? And it sucks because it makes authenticity feel so rare. And I think everyone is just so concerned with showing up polished and showing up as the most interesting version of themselves that they can. But when you're not posting something that's honest, you're just posting it because you know that other people are going to think that it looks cool or it fits the trends at the moment or whatever, then you're not actually posting anything interesting. You're just playing it safe. You're just posting what everyone else is posting. You're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. So that doesn't make you interesting. That just makes you fit in. And I know that sometimes fitting in feels like the prize. Sometimes fitting in feels like you're back in high school sitting at the popular table. You're fitting in, but it's like that's not actually what makes you cool. That's not what makes you cool. What makes you cool is things that you have that no one else has. It's the unique qualities about yourself. So when you're just posting on social media how everyone else is, no one's looking at your post and being like, "Oh, that's really cool," except for maybe the people who are doing the same thing as you. And if you want that validation, then sure, keep posting how you want to post. I'm not going to stop you from that. But like, it's just really getting to me lately because it's perpetuating all of the cycles of things that we're seeing in the world. Like, for example, beauty standards. Okay. Like, I don't think it's anyone's fault for posting the most polished pictures of themselves. Okay. Like, obviously, when you know all of the eyes of everyone you've ever known are on you when you're posting something, it makes sense for you to want to show the most quote unquote attractive picture of you or something like that. Like, no one wants people to see bad pictures of them. But since we're in this day and age where everyone's posting the best picture, not even just like the picture that's one step under that, where it's like maybe it's not you completely mogging in front of the camera, but it's you laughing in a post. It's you just genuinely smiling. Since we're so concerned with posting the pictures where we're just genuinely mogging in front of the camera, to me, it's such a clear indication of how beauty standards have affected our society. And I don't think that we need any more evidence for that. I think we're in a time and place where it's really fucking obvious that beauty standards have bled into every single area of our lives at this point, on and off camera, whether you're posting on social media or not. Because even the people who are not posting on social media, it goes to show why you're not posting on social media, because you think that you have to show up as this certain way. And then when it gets too much, sometimes we just take the approach of not posting at all. Ugh, like it's so overwhelming. It's so draining. And it's interesting to look at what we deem as worthy of our energy and what we think we don't have enough energy for. Because I think a lot of us just put so much effort into curating a post to make it feel a certain way or look a certain way mostly. And then we make it seem like we don't have energy to talk about things that actually matter or to fucking create. But it's like if you have hours upon hours to curate a post, to put filters on something, to edit something, to face tune something, to go through your camera roll and make a whole nother album, to pick the pictures that you like, to put it into something and then ask your friends for approval. And it's like, if you have the energy to do that, then you have the energy to create something today, point blank period. You have the energy to do that. You're just choosing not to. And to me, that just points directly towards validation. Like, if you are trying so hard to curate something for the public eye, you are looking for validation. And I don't think that's inherently wrong, because I really do think that as human beings, we're always looking for validation in subtle ways, because we're always living in our own minds. So sometimes our own validation is not enough for us. And we need that extra step of reassurance outside of ourselves to be like, oh yeah, this is cool. Oh yeah, I like this about myself, whatever. Like, that is so human of us. And I'm not trying to demonize that, but it does get to a point where we need to check ourselves and we need to understand the role that it's playing in our lives. Because when it goes unchecked, it gets scary, okay? And it gets very wishy-washy, and the line gets blurred in a lot of areas, and it makes it really hard to show up authentically in your life and to even know what your authentic self looks like. And that's really scary. That's really scary. But honestly, I think it's pretty obvious when you look at the state of the world right now and just everyone's social media presence in general. It's really obvious that it's not everyone's goal right now to be the most authentic self that they can, and to figure out what that is, to uncover what that is. Like, I don't think people are that concerned with showing up as the most authentic version of them. I think they're more concerned with showing up how they want to be perceived. And in some of my recent episodes from this season, I talked a lot about taste and how you cultivate taste through creativity and things like that. But I also think that applies 100% to social media, because I really think that we're at this point where we're all so exhausted from the expectations of the world that we're all kind of abiding by, that are kind of just these unspoken rules that no one really talks about, but it's just like the societal expectations that bleed into everything. And it makes us try to find ourselves through things that are outside of ourselves. So even when we're posting on social media, it's like when someone else is posting something and we look at it and we're like, ooh, that's cool, that's interesting. It's almost like we're not asking ourselves why that's cool and that's interesting to us. We just try to do the same thing. So we're in this state right now where I think there's this undeniable copy culture surrounding us, where people are just doing what everyone else is doing, like I said in the beginning. And it's like, even if you see a post and you're like, ooh, that seems really authentically them, and, I like this, that, and the other thing, we're not asking ourselves what it's reflecting in us that we like about it, because the beauty you see in others and in things outside of yourself is inherently inside of you and always has been. But we're not looking at it that way. We're just trying to take bits and pieces of things that we are finding inspiration for, and we're not understanding that we're finding inspiration from it. We're just mimicking it. So then it feels like everyone is just another copy and paste of the person before them. And it just feels so icky. Like, I don't know if you guys feel that way too, but I just feel so icky now going on social media. Everything feels so curated and fake, and everyone's taking themselves too seriously with what they're posting, and they're straying away from anything honest. But then we're not actually taking our creativity seriously. We're not taking our authenticity seriously. We're not looking at those things. We're just looking at the image that it upholds to other people. And I just think that's so not the point. It's just so not the point. So I actually posted about this yesterday when I'm recording this. On my main Instagram, I just posted like 2 story posts talking about everything I'm talking about right now. It was just a little rant, because I've been posting very freely on Instagram, and I always have been on my podcast Instagram, but on my main Instagram, I went through phases with it. Like, I'm not trying to show up here, mind you, this is a disclaimer. I am not showing up here today being like, I'm better than everyone else. I'm not affected by any of the societal kind of expectations and things like that I'm talking about right now. I am not saying that I'm free from that. I'm not saying that I haven't engaged with it, okay? But I am at a point right now where I'm able to speak on this because I do feel like I only post honest things now. And I'm not making that out to be like I'm better than anyone else. I think I could always be posting more honestly. And I make that a goal of mine. I always make it a goal of mine to show up more authentically. But I posted a little spiel about all this on my main Instagram. And, you don't really come across people posting rants on their main Instagram stories. Even if they're passionate about something that's going on in the world or something like that, they're usually just reposting something where someone else was putting their thoughts out there. They're not putting their own thoughts out there. So I went ahead and did that. And honestly, the amount of engagement that I got from it was just a telltale sign that everyone is feeling this way in one way or another, if they're aware of it. And, it brought up this feeling of like, are people going to think I'm just going crazy? Because no one posts like that, like no one just posts those uncut kind of vulnerable thoughts out there. No one's really doing that. And it's not because we don't feel that way. It's not because we don't all have the ability to do that or whatever. It's just because like that is not what social media is right now. But what I came to realize is that when you follow your creativity, like I was saying before, when you're someone who's more concerned with being authentic, when you're always just looking to be the most authentic version of you that you can and step into that as much as you can, which means facing fear head on literally every day of your life, basically, wherever it shows up, wherever it begs honesty from you. When you are the type of person that follows that, it can make you feel like other people are going to think that you're just crazy. But following your creativity, following your authenticity it forces you to be wild, not crazy, okay? Because being wild means being unbound. Like you're not tethered to anything. You're not held down by anything or held back by anything, even. You're completely free. So some people look at being free and speaking out as being crazy or being, what's the word, kind of unhinged in a way, right? Like we're in this culture where when people are just doing things that are a little bit outside of the realm and the scope of what everyone else is doing, like you're looked at as an unhinged individual. When in reality, you're just kind of saying what everyone else is thinking sometimes, or you're just doing the most honest thing to you. You're saying the most honest words that you can say. And you know what? A lot of the times people are going to look at you like you're crazy. And that's just the story of everything in life. You're never, ever going to please everyone. You please more people by being yourself than you do by trying to show up as someone who is meant for everyone, you know? And that's a lesson that you can literally only learn on your own. You cannot learn that lesson even from just listening to me talk about it today. So I'm not here to like influence, you know, I'm never here to force you to think about things the way that I think about them. And that's why I hate that when you're someone who creates content in the world now, you're seen as an influencer. It's like, I am not trying to make anyone think the same way that I think. I am literally here because this is the most authentic thing for me to do. Is talk about what I want to talk about, you know? And if it resonates with people, that's really cool and that's a really beautiful thing that can come out of it. But I'm not here to make everyone believe what I believe. And also, the things that I'm talking about, the things that I believe, are subject to change. This conversation is never a means to an end. It's always an open door to something else. And that's why I always tell you guys at the end of every episode, like, feel free to reach out to me because this is an open-ended conversation. But I think everything I'm saying today points in the direction of almost feeling the need to kind of explain yourself or censor yourself in certain ways, and also feeling like you have to have it all figured out before showing up. And I really think it goes to show that everyone is so afraid of being seen trying. And that's actually the coolest thing that you can do, in my opinion. Like, I feel like a lot of the influencers or the celebrities or just people who have a lot of eyes on them right now, a lot of the people that we're resonating with, like Jake Shane, for example, they're the type of people who are showing up unpolished, that are showing the process behind things, that are not afraid being seen trying, okay? And it's interesting that you can resonate with someone's content like that, but then post completely differently, you know? And we're just not asking ourselves, like, why that is. Sometimes it's just as simple as asking yourself why you feel the need to post the way you're posting. It's like what I was saying before about the fear of permanency. I think we're just also hyper aware of the things that we're posting on the internet lasting forever and feeling like we're tied down to this one specific version of ourselves, this one specific aesthetic, even. Like, we're all so obsessed with aesthetics right now. And it's like, why are you trying to fit one specific quote unquote aesthetic rather than just showing up as you are and letting that be the aesthetic, like letting it speak for itself? Like, your Instagram is yours. Your social media platforms are yours. It's your account, which is a reflection of you. And that's why we get so caught up in it, because we know it's a reflection of us. But then isn't the point to just show up as you are, not to try to show up as a curated version of yourself? Because then everyone is just posting these highlight reels. Like, we're all just posting the most polished parts of our lives. And we're not posting anything about the in between, the good parts, the bad parts, the not so good parts, the parts where we're kind of confused, where we don't really know who we are and whatever. And you can argue that we're not posting those because we're actively going through it, right? So then the only parts that we feel capable of posting are the parts where we're sure of it. But how sure of ourselves really are we if we're just playing it safe, you know? Like, we don't need to know how everything works before doing it. You don't have to know how everything works. Like when you first learned how to ride a bike, you didn't know how a bike actually worked. You didn't know the mechanics behind the bike. You just took the step that it took to move the fucking pedal and drive the fucking bike, you know? I don't know if that was kind of a stupid analogy, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to know how things work before trying. You don't. And I know that's the scary part behind things is being seen trying, but I don't know. Personally, I find that the people that I think are the coolest and that I find the most inspiration from are the people who are showing the process leading up to things. They're not just showing up as this one curated version of themselves to make themselves more digestible for other people. You know, they're not concerned with being one version of themselves. They're more concerned with being free from the idea of being perfect and showing up as one version of themselves, because then it makes it so hard to constantly keep up with that. It's like then you're so exhausted from constantly keeping up with this one version of yourself that you are telling yourself you have to show up as, you know? Great, I just spilled coffee all over my shirt. Well, we've reached the fun part of the episode where I intentionally made this part to just be whatever the fuck I say goes, okay? And for today's weird wrap up, I kind of want to keep the same theme going. I don't want to completely deter because sometimes in episodes, I'll talk about something completely different in the weird wrap up. Like, I'll talk about the most deep topic I can possibly think of through the episode. And then I just tell you guys my favorite song at the moment in the weird wrap up. And that's what I love about it, is that it's genuinely just an invitation for me to talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about, which gets me to the topic of creativity. Okay. I don't like completely tying myself down to the idea of creativity, even though it is inherently intertwined with my podcast name and things like that. And it's so important to me and always on my mind. So it's always relevant to every topic I'm talking about. But with today's topic, especially, I think it's really important to just take some space to really get into the logistics of things when it comes to creativity, you know, and not in a super structured way. You guys know I'm just talking off of a whim, but what really sparks my ideas and thoughts when it comes to creativity and social media is the idea that because you can is the only explanation that you need. That's the only rationalization you need to create things and to post things on social media, because you can. Okay. So if you're ever like asking yourself or spiraling in some way of like, I don't know if I should post this or why should I post this? You know, like what does it even offer to the world? Because you can is a big enough reason to do it. And to go a step further, one day you're not going to be able to. One day you're not. So like might as well fucking do it now, you know? And I think that way a lot with creativity, because we sometimes get so in our heads of like, oh, if I'm creating something, it has to be for a reason. It has to be so that people can resonate, so that people feel entertained by it, so that people can take something from it, or the validation that comes with all of that stuff. But it actually, and I want to do a whole episode on this, I've talked about it here and there, but your creative process actually has nothing to do with the audience. It actually has nothing to do with who is seeing the work that you're producing. It really doesn't. That is just the flowers of the work. That's not the driving force of it. That's not the reason why you do it. And if it is, that's something that you kind of have to uncover and look at for yourself. And if you don't, it will force you to look at it yourself, you know? So I just think that we're living in this day and age where we feel the need to over justify everything. We feel the need to over explain ourselves. And if we don't feel comfortable with over explaining ourselves, we won't put something out there at all. It's so interesting because I feel like different creative avenues beg different things from you. Like, I was just talking to one of my friends about this last night because she's really into dance and painting. And, you know, on one end of the spectrum, it's like with painting, that is such an artistic avenue where it is completely up to the eyes of the beholder. Like, when you're looking at a painting, you and the person next to you will perceive it completely differently. And we honestly like don't look at every piece of art that way. Like even podcasting, to me, this is my art form, like my main art form. But someone else might not even look at podcasting as an art form. And that's okay because it doesn't really have anything to do with them. It doesn't affect me that they don't look at this as art. But even still, sometimes I look at it as like, oh, since my art form is talking, it's more straightforward. It's less like ambiguous. It's less about someone perceiving it a certain way or in a different way. But even though I'm saying things in the way that I'm saying them when I'm saying them, you know what I mean? Like it's still the same fucking thing as painting. They're still going to perceive it however they are going to perceive it based on where they're at right now. And yeah, I don't know. There's just no point of over justifying yourself and trying to make it out. Like, I feel like, it speaks a lot to cancel culture too. Like, I feel like people over justify themselves because they're afraid of people taking it the wrong way. It's not just about someone taking it in a different perspective than what we as the creatives were initially creating from, but it's people actually taking it in the wrong direction and taking our words and just skewing them into something completely different that has a completely different intention and connotation to it than what we were initially coming from. And that scares people a lot and it drives people off and it deters people from creating at all. So I think we just need to remind ourselves that just because you can is a big enough reason to do it. Just because you can is a big enough reason to do it, And if you have to keep reminding yourself that every single time you post on Instagram or you're feeling called to show up creatively, whatever it is, like I think it's a really good thing to live by. I just wanted to end the episode talking about that. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for showing up as always, for yourselves first and foremost, but also for me. It means a lot. And I just appreciate you being a part of my creative process in whatever way that is. If you want to reach out, my socials are always linked in the show notes below. And yeah, I really just appreciate you coming along this journey with me and allowing me to show up exactly as I am and unpolished and messy and in all the ways. So thank you. And I hope to chat with you again. I've been posting episodes every other week, so stay tuned for the next one. And I'd love to hear what you took from this episode, so feel free to reach out, to leave a comment or a review or rating on the pod, whatever you feel called to do. It really helps me out. It doesn't go unnoticed. I really appreciate it. That's all I got. Stay true to yourself and post things that feel honest to you, or don't post at all. Maybe that's the most honest thing that you can do, I'm really not trying to show up here as someone who has it all figured out. I'm just speaking my mind. So until next time, sending all the love and creative juices your way. Mwah, kisses.